What's up, everybody? West the People's Pitmaster back again for another episode of the Smoke Ring Syndicate. It's my weekly barbecue podcast that drops every Wednesday at 5:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. This week we're headed south to Dublin, Georgia. I've got Gary Lanton of Holy Smokes BBQ in the house. Gary, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. How's it going?
Going good, going good. We I actually thought about making the journey down and just doing this live and eat ribs the whole time, but I thought I'd probably be a little bit more productive and could focus on the actual interview portion if I wasn't stuffing my face with barbecue.
There you go.
So, so Gary Lanton of Holy Smokes BBQ, you and your wife have been on the competition trail. You guys have opened a restaurant, opened a new restaurant now, or taking over a new restaurant. Um, Walk me through who you are, what got you started in barbecue. Did you grow up around it? Did you do, little barbecue with churches, or was it like a family thing that taught you, or did you just turn 27 and just decide that you had to either go, barbecue or be a history buff?
Well, well, I've been cooking my entire life. When I was basically 10 years old, my grandfather kind of like let me loose. He had a little electric grill in his backyard, and
Mhm.
he would just let me go loose back there cooking steak and grilling things. And so I've always come up, around a grill. I remember when I was a teenager, I used to always just think, I just made the best steak in the whole world, and it was just, and just I've always really enjoyed doing that, as
Yeah.
far as cooking. So, Dionn and I got married, I guess, when I was about 20, or she was 20 and I was 23. And so, cooking was kind of always a thing that I did. You know, got serious about cooking, I guess, in 2009. The show Barbecue Pitmasters was the first season came out, and we
Mhm.
watched it, and I just could not believe that people were out, winning trophies and winning money, cooking barbecue. And at that point, I really hadn't really cooked any barbecue much at all, and so I went and bought a big green egg and started practicing a little bit. And
Yeah.
we went and found a local competition. I guess that was in 2010. And so we went and entered it, and ended up we got like a 10th place call in pork loin. And man, I was so proud. And that was it, man. We were
That,
hooked from that point on.
yeah, that's always that's the worst thing that can ever happen to anybody, and going to be in competition barbecue is getting to walk at all that first time, or getting really close to walk. Yeah, it's a done deal.
It was, and it's what's so funny is like the memories that you have. Like I could tell you everything about that contest, who was there, who won what. It's just amazing what your memories allow you to do, and
Yeah.
and allows you to remember. So hold on,
So
go to
so
the back door. Sorry, boss lady's coming in a new restaurant. I forgot I locked the door.
that is fine. So your first barbecue competition, the first time out, and you placed, top 10 with pork loin, which is typically not the easiest. I know a lot of contests, in I'm assuming GBA with pork loin,
Hmm.
um, kind of are won and lost with pork loin a lot, because that's always the one that kind of separates the field a little bit with pork loin.
For sure.
So 2010, we're competition barbecue, and where we go from here.
Well, we got that first call right there, and I remember when the teams pulled up. You had Rick Godfrey and Dixie Q came up there. We had Mr. Joe with Bethel Smokers came up with his big rig, and Robbie Royal and Rescue Smokers were there, and it was like, oh my gosh, what have we gotten ourselves into? So,
Yeah.
I did pretty good there. Got a call at that contest. We entered another contest in Hazelhurst about a month later and didn't do quite as good. And Yeah, I kind of have like an obsessive personality. Like I just did not like the, I got a call. Why didn't I get one this time? And so that kind of led for a quest of us to get better with it. And
Yeah.
what happened is, every day, and this is no exaggeration, every single day for a year, I cooked a pork butt, trying to perfect, getting the tenderness with it, figuring out exactly the best way to do it. And, a lot
Yeah.
of that's what led us into getting into the restaurant business, because like I was like, what am I going to do with all this pork every day, And so
Yeah.
a lot of our menu items that we have at the restaurant now were, creations that happened for us to figure out what we were going to do with all this pork that we did. And
Yeah.
so I guess we had probably about our fifth or sixth contest, we had just swapped from our big green eggs that we had, and I bought my first stump smoker from Buster Davis with Smoking AJ's. And
Hmm.
so we went and did a contest in Macon, Georgia, here for the GON, and made our first final there. We didn't even know what the process with finals were. We just kind of knew there
Yeah.
were finals. We didn't really know what to do with that. And so we went and got our first final and got our first place in pork. And it was like, man, all this work finally paid off. And
Yeah.
I guess that was our fifth or sixth contest. So we'd been competing probably about 8 months about that time. And so that contest was in July. I remember it very well. The next contest was in Fort Valley, and it was the GBA State Championship contest, double
Hmm.
points. And we
Yep.
went to that contest and double finaled. And so, with double finals and double points, we went to the first contest. We were leading team of the year points. And we were like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, what is going on here? We just couldn't, you couldn't tell me anything at that point.
Yeah.
And so I guess then we decided, you know what, we're going to try to make a run at this thing. And so we ended up going through 2011, competed in, we did almost all the contests. I think we missed one or two. And we ended up winning team of the year, which I think it was in GBA, it's cumulative points that you have there. So there's
Hmm.
no,
Yeah.
top 10 contest. It's whatever you do. And, and we thought we were something because we won that. And, most of the other teams competed in all of them. And, so like I said, you can't tell me anything if I get my mind on something. So we won
Yeah.
that, and then just our, love of barbecue cultivated there. We went and during that year we had our first and second KCBS contest. The first one we did
Hmm.
Lyons, Georgia, at the Real Squeal, and we ended up
Yeah.
with a 10th place overall. And I remember we won first place pork at that contest, and it was like $1,500. And I was like, oh my gosh, we man, that was back when it was big money out there, and maybe it still
Yeah.
is. We don't compete a whole lot anymore, but man, that
Yeah.
was really a big deal. And so our second KCBS we did was the Boss Hog in Waynesburg, Georgia, and we won that contest. So our second KCBS. So, we were very fortunate that very early on we kind of had some success with it. And so,
Yeah.
that's kind of what kept our interest, and the people, just the anybody that's out in the barbecue contest world knows that the people are really what make it. We had a lot
Yeah.
of people, Stump, helped mentor me some. Robbie Royal gave me some pointers with some things, without giving up the goose,
Yeah.
they kind of just helped us along the line. And, and for me, that inspired us. And we help anybody now that asks us. But, with
Yeah.
being in the restaurant business, we've been about 9 years now. We don't do a whole lot of contests anymore. It's a lot like work,
Yeah.
so we
it's
do about
it's
one
kind
a
of made
year.
yeah, it's kind of made that transition from a hobby to a job.
Hmm.
Um,
And it changed
so
our lives, man. It really was life changing. Barbecue changed our life for the better.
yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, and you were in the competition world for, I mean, kind of a short period of time. I mean, as far as like, the week out type cooking, and you guys saw like, pretty quick success, and just all because you just watched Barbecue Pitmasters one night and thought, maybe I can do that.
For sure. And we were, you saw Myron on there. He was just a big character out there. And, we went and
Hmm.
met him, at a contest and was like, oh man, he's really not like what he is on the TV there. And,
Yeah.
you ended up being, uh, they say, you work until your idols become your rivals. And that's kind of
Hmm.
really what happened with us, and it's just always been fun to go out and compete against these people that you look up to.
Yeah. So I mean, the Myrons of the world, kind of were the ones that got you interested in the barbecue game, and getting to see all these folks on TV. And you guys just decided, we've got extra pork left over. Let's, set up something on the side of the road, or walk me through, finishing, I guess, finishing in the competition world, not, not being in that week out, week in, week out. Walk me through that transition.
Well, what happened with us is, I was in the construction business, for about 10 years before we started the restaurant. And 2008, there was the big, market crash, so they say, but it seemed like it took to about 2013 to get to where we were. And so about
Yeah.
2013, construction jobs kind of slowed down. And, we honestly that year paid our bills with barbecue contest, which was very a crazy thing to do, had to do again. I probably wouldn't risk it, but we were fortunate, to be
Yeah.
good in the barbecue competition games. You got to be one of two things. You got to be rich or you got to be good. That's the only way you can play that game.
Yeah.
And, so, we did that. And in about 2015, I was like, I'm over doing this. I was putting in, hardwood floors, tile showers, and things like that. I was just over bailing my men out of jail all the time and stuff. And I was like, I want to start doing what I like doing instead of that. So we were like, hey, let's do a food trailer. And so
Yeah.
we went, and I knew enough about business that I knew how to cook good barbecue, but I knew I didn't really know the restaurant business that well. So I
Hmm.
figured, I start in this trailer. If my spot stinks, I'll just move it somewhere else, because I felt like
Yeah.
we had pretty good, food that I felt like that if people would give us a shot, that we would make it. And
Hmm.
one thing that really I think helped us was, we had the value of, this is like, I hate to say it was my backup plan, but this was my dream that I'm going for here, and I'm not going to get
Hmm.
lazy with it. And one thing that
Yeah.
we've always done from the very beginning is we cook our food fresh every single day. We
Yeah.
never cook on Monday, reheat it later to serve later in the week. Every
Yeah.
single thing that we do is fresh that day. Now, when I say fresh, every day, like we cook on a 1,000-gallon offset pit, wood, 100% wood, no gas. We do it the old school way, the hard way, because it's the best way. But I cook
Yeah.
my meats like today. I'm cooking butts and briskets for tomorrow, and that's how we cycle it. And then I get there in the morning. I'm cooking ribs, thin meats, chicken, all of those items fresh right there that morning, and then my big meats for the next day. So I really think that having that value of always being fresh is really what
Mhm.
set us apart from our competitors here in town. You can
Yeah.
you I mean, anybody that cooks barbecue can tell you if they're eating something that's been old. And
Yeah.
barbecue is always at its best the moment it comes out of that grill. And my
Mhm.
goal is to give it to my customer as soon as I can as it comes out of that grill. And that's what we do
Yeah.
every day.
Yeah. It's kind of going from, that competition headspace of this is going to be the perfect bite, and the flavor profile is a little different from competing versus restaurant, but like that level of quality, if you strive for that one bite is perfect, then everything else kind of falls in line
Hmm.
typically.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, I had a conversation with some coworkers a couple of days ago that, and I won't mention the name of the restaurant, but he said, it's okay, it's this, it's that. I said, yeah. I said, well, that's kind of part of the downfall of barbecue is restaurateurs becoming, complacent or lazy, or oh, it's good enough kind of deal, and you don't have that same drive. Then you have the inconsistencies, and that sort of thing. And there's a lot of places that are cooking a couple of days a week and serving you know 2 and 3 and 4, 5 day old meat, and folks don't understand that. Because they've just been accustomed to eating that, and then once they've experienced, the caliber of barbecue that you guys are putting out, they go, "Oh, wait a minute, now I understand."
Yeah. And so, yeah, and something you had said right there is, that I think it comes back to something that somebody had told me when we were getting into the barbecue competitions, and it was one of the first things they said is like the little things that you don't think matter, they matter. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And if you do the little things good, the big things are going to take care of themselves.
Yeah.
And
So
so,
you,
as far as you were saying, what we've done is we have the only thing that I do separate on a barbecue contest that I don't do at a restaurant, as far as my thin meats, I don't use honey on my ribs at the restaurant. Everything else is competition style,
really,
exactly the same way. Yes, and every day
yeah,
we do it. But the customer, we charge more for our ribs, and I don't know what the going rate around is, but we're probably 40% more than our competitors in town. But we
yeah,
probably also sell three times the ribs that they do because people don't mind spending money when they realize it's going to be quality. If they know what they're going to get, they know
yeah,
every time it's going to be good. They do not mind spending the money for it.
yeah. Oh, absolutely. I kind of went through a similar thing back in 19. I was doing the vendor row for Jack Daniels, and in 19, and I had a little catering job, and I really had no clue, because every area is a little bit different. And I was talking to a guy in the area there in Tennessee, and I was like, man, what does brisket go for? And this is, back 19, I'm doing like $17 to $20 a pound, and that's just barely scraping by back then. And it's, probably close to, a time and a half on that now. But he was like, you probably get $25 a pound. And I'm like, there is absolutely no way that I'm going to get $25 a pound for brisket. And, we're serving, and had a lady come by, grabbed a brisket sandwich, didn't think nothing of it. She just wanted just a sandwich. That's it. And I didn't think I'd never see her again. She came back about 40, probably 35, 40 minutes later. And she said, well, how much is it a pound? I said, 25. And she said, okay, let me get 6 pounds. And I was like, I should have said 30.
There you go.
But folks really miss the understanding of what goes into barbecue, and the quality of barbecue, why it is worth what it's worth.
Hmm.
So you guys started the food truck, and you just hung your tool belt up for an apron. Walk me through kind of trying to figure out how to work in, number one, in that small of a space. And was it just you and Dion, or walk me through the growth outgrowing the truck?
Well, when we first started in the food trailer, it was bananas. It was so busy, and we had thought, what have we gotten ourselves into? Just because it was so much work. And
Hmm.
somebody gave me the advice. They said, what is hard for you now will become routine for you later. And it really was that really was the truth. We started with me, Dion, and one of her friends, Delana, in the trailer. It was tough in there. We were in we had a Southern Dimension Group trailer, SDG trailer. The thing was a beast.
Hmm.
It was, I mean, just set up to cook. But you almost were like you were dancing because you had to
Yeah.
slim up and get by and all that. And it was it's hot work, man. 115 degrees with the griddle going in there in the summertime. It was just brutal. And but you learned how to do it. We really cut our teeth with low risk. We had very low overhead, and so
Hmm.
that kind of helped us succeed. There were times where in the food trailer were affected. We found like that one bad weather condition,
Hmm.
it wouldn't affect sales too much. But if you had two bad ones, forget about it. But also another thing that I'd found out that consistency was the key. And I think a lot
Yeah.
of food truck operators or people that are out there underestimate how important that was. What I found is like we used to, if it was a rainy day, we were like, all right, pack it up, let's not do this, and we'd go on to the house. Well, I
Yeah.
found that it would take us 2 weeks to build back to the same amount of sales that we had before, we did that day off. And what I can
Hmm.
attribute that to is that people that had came and we weren't there came. The next time they went to go eat, when presented with a decision, do we go there? Do we go there? Well, last time we weren't there, and so they would go somewhere else. So,
Yeah.
any advice that I would give to somebody that's going out and considering starting it, you gotta be there. The 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 decrease in sales you'll have for that day because of the weather conditions is much less than it does to waiting for that time for your sales to build back up. So it's really
Yeah.
one of those things that you have to make your mind up. You got to be there when you say you're going to be there every time.
Yeah. That's interesting. I hadn't really thought about, being. I guess it's thinking of a brick and mortar spot. Pretty much always going to be open when they say they're going to be open, regardless when wind or rain or snow or whatever it may be. And when you're trying to make a decision on, well, do we go out here and see the Holy Smokes folks? Well, last time, yeah. So it's interesting to hear you put it that way. And really thought about it that way either.
Hmm. And
It's
a
a
lot of times I see local food trucks like we never really moved our trailer. We went and we found a spot and we posted up there. We put a power pole in and a gas tank, and we really didn't ever move. We would go to
Yeah.
some events. But I've seen some other people that have went, and other food trucks, not barbecue, but other types of food that have been there. And you can see
Hmm.
they're kind of struggling because sometimes, they'll go and they'll reduce their menu prices to, bare minimum that they're really not making a lot of money. But I can go back and look and see a lot of times where, oh well it's hot and we're not going to be in the kitchen today, and they went on home and did that. And would never go tell them, but if they would ask me, I would tell them, and you got to be there no matter what.
Yeah.
If you don't do griddle stuff, you turn your griddle off and keep it cooler, or put your trailer up under an awning, would help. There's lots of ways to get around, the inclement weather, but man, consistency is definitely the key.
Yeah. Well, and for me, like my wife and I, like if we're going out and about, like especially in a new area, like if I see a food trailer or a food truck, like I'm automatically drawn to them anyway, just because 9 times out of ten, this it's somebody just starting out and has that fire, the passion still. If I'm looking at, okay, let me look at the restaurant or let me look at the food truck, and they're side by side, I'm probably going to go with the food truck. So maybe don't park any food trucks next to your restaurant since you're in the brick and
For
mortar
sure.
now. So you guys basically just decided, we're tired of being in a confined space and we've outgrown the trailer, or was it an opportunity was presented to you and you were like, you know what, I can't not do it, or was it a let's give it a shot, and worst case scenario we're back in the same trailer?
Well, what it really was, I was sick of the heat. I mean, it was just so hot in there. It's like I just couldn't take it anymore. And so I kind of began. I saw a place where we are now, the
Hmm.
location that I was like, man, I really think I can make it work here. But there was a management group that had that they were so difficult to deal with, and they just wanted an astronomical amount of money for the place, and it just never, it didn't make sense for us to do it. Well, I
Hmm.
saw where that shopping center had sold, and there was a new management group, and I'm like, well, what's up? Let's go see. One thing that I did want to do is I wanted to you know had to have a drive-through, and then that was one of those things that I feel like the Lord kind of put that was like a non-negotiable for us that prepared us for the
Hmm.
pandemic, because we started the brick and mortar in 2019. So we opened up
Yeah.
July 2019 in the brick and mortar. And so, having that drive through helped us make it through that. But you know, part of, like I said, it was the heat that really made me want to leave the food trailer. I already had my eye
Yeah.
on a spot that I liked, and it just kind of lined up that it worked out. And we went there, and you know uh, one thing I can tell people: don't be afraid to negotiate with people if you're trying to find a place to get into. you know um, Another thing I can do to tell people is, like, don't take on a lot of debt
Yeah.
when you start it. Buy things as you go. You appreciate it more. It means more to you when you've had to earn and buy that as you go. I've seen so many
Yeah.
people that go out and borrow millions of dollars and build these super fancy restaurants, but you use someone else's money. When you've done it yourself and you've tried to, really build it from nothing, then there's some you have a part of yourself in there with it. So you have an interest that you're not going to give up on it quite so easy
Yeah.
when you've done that.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
we found the spot that we were at. We did have to take a loan on, but we remodeled our entire restaurant. Did it, it was $60,000. I remember it completely. That's all we had to do it. The owners of the building said, "There's no way you're going to be able to do what you want to do for that." But I was in construction, so we did a lot of the work ourselves.
Yeah.
And we opened it up, and I had so many of my friends that were in a brick and mortar and then went to a food truck. They were like, "Dude, do not leave the food truck." He's like, "It's going to be the biggest mistake that you ever make." And I just
Yeah.
want to say those guys all lied. You know what I mean? Maybe for them, but for us, man, it was like the best thing we ever did. I mean, it was just
Well,
been a
you know,
blessing.
well, you're comparing, being in the hot box versus being in air conditioning, and you cut your teeth in, with construction and being hot there, and then you change into being hot in a trailer. Like, it's time for some cooler weather.
That's
Let
right.
me get
Yeah.
some conditioned air in my life.
Yes. Can't underestimate how what that does for the overall morale.
Absolutely. Um, it's and you were talking about it. It had to have the drive through. It had to have the drive through, and it's always interesting to me when I see a barbecue restaurant with the to go window. It's just because I'm like, it's not fast food, but
Hmm.
it's quick food. We were out of town, and we were in North Carolina back before the hurricane, and I had, as I always do, reach out, and I'm like, okay, where should I grab barbecue from? And we went to a little place. It was called Smithfield's, and they had a drive-through. And I was like, "There's no way." And we went through, and it was, I mean, very, very, very North Carolina sauce, and all that. So it was not my favorite, but I've grown to appreciate other areas of barbecue. But it was just interesting to have it come out of a drive-through window and be palatable. So it's just it's always been interesting to me when you guys I was watched go through the opening of the restaurant, and you're like, the drive-through, and I'm like, drive-through barbecue, which is awesome because I'd much rather have a barbecue sandwich than I would a cheeseburger.
Hmm.
So I gotta imagine that that levels you guys up too, because it's not fast food, but it's food pretty fast to the
Hmm.
window. Yeah.
We tried to make it, when we first opened, we wanted it to be a pickup window, just for online orders and stuff,
Hmm.
but it never did work out like that. And, just people always want to come and order at the window. And, so I don't want somebody to come by and give me $1 and me not be able to take it from them. So we just started doing that. And,
Yeah.
what we ended up doing is, our drive our on our line that we have a takeout and a dine-in kitchen
Hmm.
display screen. Then we have a
Yeah.
drive-through one there. So we prioritize a drive-through. It still isn't like super fast, you know what I mean? And people understand that. But
Yeah.
we make do. Hey, pull up. That way, if somebody's behind you that called in their order, they can get it and go. So you make it work. You find out a way to make it work.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's, I mean, I would almost liken it, especially with you guys having the square footage that you have of the restaurant itself. It's almost like having a whole nother restaurant in and of itself, that's going out the window, kind of like what you guys did in the trailer, back in
Hmm.
your trailer days there, and then you have the brick and mortar on the other side. A lot of the fast food restaurants, the Burger Kings, the McDonald's, and all that, nobody's pretending to anybody in the dining room. You come to the counter, you get your food, you go,
Hmm.
and we never see you again. We have no interest in speaking to you, and we've gotten your money, we don't care. Whereas, you guys with the brick and mortar, you're a little more hands-on, and you've got the window,
Hmm.
serving food out the window too.
Yeah, and I think what our restaurant is classified as like a fast casual. So you come up,
Hmm.
you order at the counter, and then you go sit down, and then we'll bring it out to you. And so
Yeah.
and people right there, uh, if you're busy, it might take 5 to 7 minutes to get your order out, but they see what's up. They understand. I mean,
Oh
they're
yeah.
sitting down. It's cool. They understand.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, 5 to 7 minutes to get barbecue, of the quality that you guys are doing. Like, I wait 10. I don't care.
Hmm.
It's the ones where it's like, yeah, let me get a barbecue sandwich. Here you go.
Hmm.
There's less care, I guess, in some of that stuff.
For sure.
So you guys have got the restaurant going. Walk me through, what's our current day look like? Because I know you guys just recently acquired a restaurant.
Hmm.
Um, you guys do know that y'all are only two people, right?
Right. Yeah. Well,
Okay.
what happened is, we have an awesome crew over at Holy Smokes. Our people are just great, and it got to the point that I had to make them put me on the schedule. It's like, I'm 45. I'm too young to be done. But the crew, they have their thing. They work. They do a great job. And so, what really happened was, is I just had some extra time, and we were going to open a second location of Holy Smokes
Mhm.
a little closer to the interstate where we were. And the
Yeah.
building that we were buying about 3 weeks before it closed, it had a water leak and ran for 8 days before anyone knew it. So water behind the drywall, up on everything, and the owner of the building, we were like, "Hey, man, we had a cleanup company come. There was some mold in there. They said it's going to be $100,000 to clean this up, and we really wanted the
Woo.
location. So we told the people like, "Hey, you handle half or reduce your asking price by half. We'll handle the other half, and we'll take care of it and do it." And they said no, they weren't going to do that. So we backed out. We thought it was just the worst thing in the world, and then lo and behold, Luann's Biscuits here in Dublin has been a landmark here. The restaurant's been here since 1967, and the owners, which is second generation owners, ready to retire. They were getting up in age, and the husband, Mr. Jimmy, he had just retired from the state, and they were ready to go out and do some traveling, and they had
Mhm.
saw what had happened between with the other restaurant falling through, and and they had known us. We're a small town here, so they kind of saw how we do
Yeah.
business. And we one thing that we really try to do is we really try to help the community. When anything happens, we're there. We try to help. And Miss Stephanie, who owned it, said that she really had that she felt like that we kind of exemplified what her mother would like with someone to take over the business. And so, you know, she had just came and they had approached and said, "Hey, would you consider buying Luann's?" And we did the numbers and made it work. So now we're in the breakfast biscuit business here. And so, and I think the same recipe holds true here. Is you 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 have good staff, you pay them. You have number one, you quality be the number one thing that you hang your hat on. Luann's
Mhm.
has the biggest biscuits in Georgia. Nobody has bigger biscuits. Start with a big 5-inch cat head biscuit, And
Yeah.
it's a landmark here where we are. But with the owners being a little older, like they were, they'd never opened the dining room back up after COVID, and never only did breakfast and only did drive-through since COVID
Yeah.
has happened. And so what we're planning on doing here is, going back to the roots, opening up for lunch, and doing some barbecue here for lunch, doing blue plate special things for lunch, and opening the dining room back up. They used to have the Romeos that came in here every day, and that's the real old men eating out, and they called themselves the Romeos. And I want to bring that crew back here. I want to open this place back up to the tradition that it used to be. I just want to honor
Yeah.
Miss Luann. There's very few businesses where a woman has went and really made a big name for it, and I feel like we don't want to change the name. We're going to keep it as it is. We want to honor what she's built, and we want to be a good steward of what has been a landmark here in Dublin.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, recipes for 5-inch cat head biscuits, that's not something that is readily available. So I mean, you kind of have to at least have to keep that portion of it, right?
Oh yes, well, the staff here is there are 3 members of the staff that have been here over 30 years. There's a couple more that have been here 20, and one that's been here 15. I mean, they have been, they have just their family here. It's the only job they've ever had is here. And
Yeah.
it's kind of a delicate balance, for me coming in here. We're just ending our first week. We just bought it a week ago, and
Hmm.
a balance of, hey guys, I know y'all are doing things here, but here's what I want to do that want to make it better. We're bringing in a point of sale system, and they're scared to death about it. But I really think it's going to be something that will benefit them. Because now they call out an order and have to remember. And oh my gosh, if they counted on me to remember something, every order's going out wrong. And so they're really going to enjoy it. But you know, uh, I see room for an improvement. Like right now, we're back in the kitchen. We're making our scratch made sausage, breakfast sausage. So we're going to have our signature biscuits with signature sausage. You can't get anywhere else but breakfast sausage here at Luann's. And we're really going to market that a lot. We've at Holy Smokes, we have always have hung our hat on quality. Like I said, we do it fresh every day, and we are going to bring that the same recipe, the same reputation here, and do the
Hmm.
same thing here because it works. Like we both said earlier, you can't get lazy with it. The little
Yeah.
things that you don't think matter, they matter. You do those
Yeah.
little things good, and you take care of the small things. Money is going to follow. You focus on doing what you know how to do that's right, and
Hmm.
the passion that Gary Lamb. I don't know if you know him, but he does the barbecue and brews up in
Yeah.
Canton, Georgia. He
Oh
says
yeah.
the riches are in the niches. And
Yeah.
and you find a niche, and you do that niche to the best of your abilities, and that's kind of what we've done. We ain't
Yeah.
rich, but one day I hope to be.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, and especially a small business like what you have, your face and your wife's face is on it, and you guys are in a kind of I wouldn't say I call it like a niche town. It's not it's a small town, but it's kind of like your your community itself. You're kind of
Mhm.
you're ingrained in it,
Oh
and your
yes.
face is on it. And I mean, you got folks that you know give a damn and folks that don't.
Hmm.
And you're like, I put my name on it. My face is associated with it, and I don't want somebody to go. He's sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not.
Hmm.
It's this guy busts his butt every single day and is trying to put out the perfect product every single time.
Hmm.
And your reputation is important to you, and that's the reason you guys put in the work that you put in,
For sure.
right?
I that's I say it's better to be consistently bad than it is to be inconsistently good and bad. And I honestly really believe that. You have to decide what you're going to be and be that every single day.
Yeah.
And so hit or miss, is it does not work. So I agree with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, not to speak bad about a Georgia legend, but like if I go to Atlanta and I eat at the Varsity, I know it's going to be terrible.
Hmm.
It's going to be greasy. It's going to be that, but I know every single time it is exactly the same.
That's right.
You know, so maybe there's something there to something to that. You know, if you're going to be bad, be consistently bad
Yeah.
instead of inconsistently bad. I kind of like that. I like
Hmm.
that. So you guys are two restaurants deep now. You know, early on with the breakfast portion of it, um, and I assume at some point some blending, a little blending of the families between the breakfast and the barbecue
Hmm.
is maybe on the horizon. Or what are your thoughts with that?
Well, yeah, with us gonna do lunch service here, one thing that I've heard consistently from the community is like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so glad that we're gonna have your barbecue on this side of town now." And so, I'm definitely gonna do a slim down version of that, do some of the bigger
Hmm.
thing, some of the bigger selling items here. But I'm creative. I like to cook all sorts of things. I want to, fried pork chops. I want to do meatloaf, which we do that at the barbecue restaurant too. But
Hmm.
I just want to do some regular country cooking. That's what they were known
Yeah.
for here before, and that's what we want to bring back.
Yeah, we've got a little. I guess in this area, Miss Louise Anderson was a big kind of very similar persona to what your restaurant owner was, because there was it's closed, been closed since I moved here. There was an Anderson's Cafe, and then there was a Louise's. Anderson's has been closed since I've moved here. Louise's is still here, and they do breakfast and lunch, and it's kind of like a almost cafeteria style, and that's
Hmm.
what I kind of imagine. You know, with it when I say when somebody says, "Oh, well, let's go get some country cooking," that's kind of where my headspace goes. That cafeteria style, um, old school Southern cooking.
For sure. But yep, that's kind of what we're planning on doing. Just like that. We I love everything that we do. Though we don't do anything open out of the can. If we're gonna
Hmm.
do it, we're gonna season it. I would equate the cooking that we do most of all to be soul food. You know what I mean? Because our heart and soul goes into it all. We season everything. There's nothing that if you don't like flavor, don't eat with us. You know what I mean? Everything is
Yeah,
going to be amped up. And
yeah,
and but tastefully done too. We don't overcomplicate things. As far as barbecue, I feel like barbecue is redneck cooking, and it's simple is better. Like with our pork butts and brisket, salt, pepper, smoke. That's it.
yeah,
But
yeah,
we cook them until it's done, and not a second longer, and and it's good.
yeah. Well, I mean, and to have good brisket in a restaurant is like, especially in Georgia, it's kind of like there's few and far between. I can count probably on maybe a hand and a half places in Georgia where I'm like, I can go get barbecue and I can, consistently go get barbecue at this place and know that it's going to be the level that it should be, that everybody else, you would think raising tides, brings all ships up, but some of these barbecue restaurants, they just don't have the drive that they need to have.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know if you want to if we need to just come up with a classification and go, oh well, they're barbecue, but we're BBQ, or we're BB,
Craft barbecue. Like kind of
yeah,
like
craft
441
barbecue.
South, like
Yeah,
Kevin Ward said, it's craft
yeah,
barbecue. Matthew
yeah.
Martin with Smoke South catering over there, they call it
Hmm.
it's a craft barbecue. It is a small batch, not made
Yeah,
for the masses. When
yeah,
we're done, we're done. When it's out, it's gone. But
yeah,
do it all really good.
yeah. Well, I don't know. Maybe just because craft barbecue has been used so many times, but
Hmm.
I mean, it conveys the point. that you're trying to get home, that there is a there's a skill set involved in what you're about to eat. But there's just so many people that go, well, we a barbecue restaurant, but they're not the level of
Hmm.
barbecue restaurant that they should be. So we might have to come up with like a rating system on just how you spell barbecue on
There
your
you go.
restaurant. You gotta, if it's a BBQ, it's this level. If it's a barbecue spelled out this way. If it's BAR dash B dash Q, it's this. Maybe we have a tier system,
There you
and
go.
you get to earn your spelling. I don't know which direction we're going to go with that, but
For sure.
uh,
For sure.
it that'd be nice to know.
Oh yeah.
Um, just because I mean, barbecue is it's going to be different just about everywhere you go, but it's the consistency that that brings people back over and over and over.
They say the best way to judge a barbecue restaurant, right? Is look at the
How's
size
that?
of their wood stack.
Yeah,
If they ain't got a big wood stack, then it probably not. I don't want to say it isn't because you can do it, other ways. But we got a big wood stack because we burn a lot of wood.
yeah. Well, and you also have to look at the stack of wood. Is there? I mean, are there critters in the stack where nobody has touched this in quite some
For
time,
sure.
or and that's typically my thing. Is I'm pulling up to the restaurant. I drive around the restaurant a couple of times, then I park, then then I'm going in to experience it because I have to set myself up, to understand what it is that I'm about to do.
Hmm.
Um, and I've been in strip mall barbecue places that are just absolutely out of this world, and then I've been in the place that's out on the edge of town, and there's nobody around other than just trees, and then just been absolutely just disappointed. So I
Hmm.
mean, you can get it anywhere, I guess.
That's right.
So two restaurants in, what does the future of Holy Smokes and the Lanton family look like?
Well, I mean, we've thought about it a lot, and what does the future look like? I would think, eventually I would like to get, open one in another town, but maybe find someone like if it be one of my kids or someone that wanted to apprentice and come stay with us and just do some sort of, like a franchise type thing, but
Hmm.
the trick is, if you give me somebody 3 weeks, I can teach them how to do it. You could follow these
Yeah,
steps and do it like this. You can make great barbecue. You know, but maybe one day doing like that. We had thought that the other location was going to be the start of doing that, and then I was like, well,
hmm,
to do that, I'm going to have to get in the sauce business heavy because I'm not going to be wanting to give all my recipes out. So I'm going to have to start
yeah,
manufacturing sauce and chicken salad base and baked bean base and all the stuff that we make that makes our items what they are, but without having to give away the goose and telling everybody how we're doing it. And so, but
yeah,
maybe one day, we were excited about this opportunity. It's very rare that a landmark becomes available to do, and so we're going to do this here and you know give it a year and we'll find out what happens after that. We'll
yeah,
but I I hope one of my kids gets into it. I was like, they're getting to the age where they were going to go to school or not. I was like, don't go to school. Come work with me. I can teach you how to make money doing this. Live anywhere you
yeah,
want to,
yeah,
because there's just so many few places that you can go and get, quality food. And
yeah,
it's a trap. The sales reps and the food service companies almost set people up with this. They come in with their magazines that say, save 4 hours of labor per day. Buy this pre-cooked whatever. It's no, you really can't tell that big of a difference. Or swap to this meat that's not as good of a quality, but you can only tell a little bit of a difference. While that
yeah,
may be true, if you do two or three things that you can't tell a little bit of a difference with, all of a sudden you're going to be able to tell a big difference. And it's a
yeah,
trap. You have to, remember why you got into doing what you're doing. And if with us, we knew how to cook good barbecue, and so it's
yeah,
like, okay, I know if I do this, it's gonna work. And just don't get away from that. Don't become complacent and try to take the easy way out. it gets easier because you become more efficient. You refine your process to help you get into it just becomes easier once you do
Yeah,
that. But you have to, have to stand for something, or you'll fall for anything. And you have to
yeah.
stand on, standing on business, as the kids like to say. Standing on business is doing it the right way, do it every day, don't get lazy. And that's what
Standing
you have
on
to stand on.
business.
Yep, you got to
Standing
stand
on
on that.
business.
Yep.
I love it. I love it. Um, yeah, I just was kind of listening through what you were talking about, and just kind of some of the folks that I've had, chatted with in the past. One comes to mind is Travis Clark,
Mm-hmm.
up in Oklahoma, and he's on restaurant number two, and he's got partners now, and he's going the. I think he's going to end up being a guy that owns 5 to 10, maybe 20 restaurants
Oh yeah.
over the next, short little bit. But he's I think he's going to continue his quality.
Mm-hmm.
You were talking about, well, I've got to get in the sauce business. I got to do this. I got to do the bean base and that sort of thing. And he's kind of started that process himself. He started, I believe it was his cornbread recipe
Mm-hmm.
that he is having bagged, and so he's not having to recreate that every single time, and he can that'll go into the restaurant to continue his level of quality based off
Mm-hmm.
what they're doing. So
Yeah, he's got it going
yes.
on. That's a whole nother league right there.
Yeah, well, he kind of he partnered with some big names, and he and Famous Dave kind of chatted, and he worked with the Famous Dave folks, and he's had some big mentors that had some big old giant shoes. So I can imagine trying to put yourself towards that level, something to strive for. Maybe I don't know that it's as many restaurants as the Famous Dave franchise have is something that I would have the drive to, but there's got to be somebody out there doing it right.
For sure. And one thing that Travis has done, that I think, that I know has made him so successful, he's never compromised on the commitment to quality.
Yeah.
Compromise in the restaurant business is a four-letter word. You can't compromise. And we took a cooking class last year, and got to spend some time talking with him. And
Hmm.
the veterans in the restaurant game are always trying to find the way to squeeze that penny and get a little bit more out of it. They don't
Hmm.
have a problem sacrificing quality a little bit for a dollar. And that was one thing that we always said, or that I always say, and I still say it to this day: I'll never do it. I'll never sacrifice quality in the name of a dollar. If I have to
Yeah.
charge more for it, I will.
Yeah.
But I want it to be the very best that I can make it every single time, and
Yeah.
that's the secret sauce.
Yeah. Well, and I would kind of liken you guys are probably very similar in the path that you guys go in, like being in the restaurant business. You came from a construction background. He came from the electrician background. So like, when he and I were talking, he said, they said, oh, such and such is broken, and he's like, well, let's go fix it. And his manager that had been in the restaurant game forever and ever, he's like, oh, we can just do this and this and just get by. And he's like, no, just fix it right and
Hmm.
move on. Because right now I can fix it for $35, but in 8 months it'll cost me 250.
Yeah,
And I kind of feel like you guys probably have a very similar mindset in the way that you go about being in the brick and mortar restaurant
hmm,
world, just because there's so many uh, restaurants that you go into, and especially if you're looking for it, you go, they probably could have done something a little better than that, or this is definitely a patch job, and you're like, you probably could have done it right a little bit earlier
hmm.
and wouldn't have had that problem.
Yeah, and it's like if they have they've compromised on this. What else have they compromised on?
Correct.
You know, I mean,
Correct.
it's just it's a core value is what that's called. You have to have your core values, and quality has to be one of your core values.
Yeah. Yeah. I've was when I was doing the catering thing, I got close enough to see the restaurant thing to know that's definitely not where I want to go with my life. But hats off to you guys that do and do it successfully, because it is not an easy task. And I have folks, I'll cook stuff and bring stuff to the dealership. I work at a car dealership during the day, not today, but like I'll bring in. I did cinnamon rolls on the smoker a couple of months ago, and then I did pastrami a couple of months back, and everybody's always like, "You should open a restaurant." I'm like, "Do not cuss at me that way. Do not speak to me that way. No, don't put that evil on me. I've got friends in the restaurant business, and I do not envy you all. My
Hmm.
hats off for doing it, and I definitely need you guys to continue doing it so that the rest of the world can eat, and then I can have a lazy day and come out and eat.
For sure.
But yeah, don't put that evil on me. So hit me with your socials. We will sign off, and we'll let you get back to work, Mr. Restaurateur.
Yep, we have the new one is Luann's Biscuits and Burgers here in Dublin, and then you can look up Holy Smokes Barbecue Dublin, and that's where we are, dublinbbq.com, 478-272 ribs, and that's where you get the best ribs in the state of Georgia. That's what the
Awesome,
Food Network
awesome.
said. I don't know how they know, but I agree.
Yeah, and side note, we'll have to do this again, but I'm going to do it in person because I wanted to talk about the Food Network thing, but I didn't want to pull focus from where we were going.
For sure.
But as seen on TV, ribs, right?
There you go. See if they all
Guys, if you
it's all about cracking up, see if they live up to the hype.
absolutely, guys, go to Dublin, give them a try. As if you've enjoyed this week's episode, we would appreciate a review, a like, a share, and as always, keep smoking.